Spoilers ahead. Watch out, and take care. The movie begins at the Ohio State Fair in Columbus, where the main character arrives, a professional robber with an English accent, whom everyone calls Parker. He is a modern-day Robin Hood, a professional thief who doesn't steal from the poor or harm the innocent. Under the guise of a holy father, Parker leads a group of criminals, including a brother of the Chicago mob, Hardwick, and 4 criminals with impressive reputations. Their goal is to rob the carnival. Parker breaks into the local security office and distracts the guards while the clowns sneak in and attack them. Inside, the guards keep a large chunk of money from the 3-day vacation. The group of criminals holds the employees hostage while Hardwick starts a controlled fire. All the while, people continue to enjoy themselves without suspecting anything. One of the hostages is having a panic attack, and Parker tries to calm him down, assuring him that they will not kill anyone. Through flashbacks, we learn that Hurley, an elderly thief, and father of the protagonist's beloved Claire, was the one who proposed that he participate in the robbery. Although Claire thinks they barely know each other, Parker has worked for Hurley for many years, and the former thief knows he can trust him. Hurley has provided Parker with all the resources he needs, including men from a clown gang led by a criminal named Melander. Meanwhile, the fire goes from controlled to massive, obviously causing panic among the participants. When a sum of more than $1 million ends up in the hands of the robbers, they take advantage of the commotion and successfully flee the scene. With the help of their accomplice Carlson, posing as the fire chief, they manage to leave the area. When Hardwick and Parker cross paths in an abandoned industrial area, the latter blames the man for the deviation from the original plan. While spying on the firemen changing in the tent, Hardwick had lost time getting to the planned location and, as a result, had set the fire in the barn not behind the livestock pavilion but near the propane tank depot. Since this increased the public danger, it made the investigation more of a priority. The other part of the group arrives, and they all get into the car. As they drive along a rural road, the leader, noting the professionalism of the rookie Parker, offers him to do another robbery. This time, however, he can expect a share of $1 million. But Parker firmly refuses, preferring to get his $200,000 and get out of the shady business. Following a predetermined scenario, everyone prepares to kill Parker as he refuses to join them in the new robbery. Parker takes little time to realize that he is in danger, and manages to injure Carlson, and then jump out the car window after being shot by Melander. The gang leader forces Hardwick to finish off the rebel. The latter gets out of the car, shoots Parker, and throws him into a pond, after which the bandits make a hasty escape. Soon after, a farmer passes with his family along that road. Noticing blood on the road, he finds the protagonist in the pond and delivers Parker, miraculously surviving, to the town hospital. Upon waking up in a hospital bed, the man hears on the news that a fire at an amusement park has killed many people, and that the robbers have not been found. The protagonist notices the police outside the hospital and has no intention of waiting for them to question him, so he puts a doctor to sleep and steals his clothes. After that, he escapes, taking a patient outside. Outside, he steals an ambulance and drives away. He stops to recover and treat his wounds in the van. Parker decides to find the group that betrayed him and kill them one by one. After more or less recovering, Parker sneaks into a hunter's motel room, where he steals a pair of clothes, a multi-tool, an electric razor, and another gun. After stealing another person's car, Parker heads to a check cashing center in Memphis. He takes a hostage and enters the center to commit an armed robbery. He needs the money to create a new identity and new documents. Later, Parker travels to Houston, Texas, and reveals he is a friend of Bob Hurley. He orders the new documents from the print shop's owner and pays him a handsome sum of money. While waiting for the new papers to be delivered, Parker calls Hurley and asks him where Hardwick's brother is. Hurley tries to convince him to stay away because these are dangerous and out-of-touch people. Nevertheless, Parker insists on knowing the address, and the old thief reveals to him the bar where Hardwick's brother works. Parker immediately travels to New Orleans. He enters the bar and beats up the security guy, after which he finds Hardwick's brother, who happens to own 5 bars on Bourbon Street. The guy reveals to him that Melander and his gang are in Palm Beach, an island in a city of billionaires and multimillionaires. Parker immediately calls Claire and her father, and tells them to take a trip of some kind. The protagonist realizes that his enemies will use the people he cares about to get to him. Meanwhile, the scene moves to Florida, where real estate agent Leslie Rogers stays and works, who will play an important role. At that moment, the criminal group is planning its next big heist. Hardwick learns from her brother that Parker is alive. When Hardwick reveals this to Melander, the latter becomes enormously angry. He becomes so angry that he is about to shoot one of his men, but Ross says the plan will fail even without one of them. Melander orders Hardwick to call his powerful uncle, Mr. Danziger in Chicago, to hire a hitman to kill Parker. Danziger sends his best hitman, named Kroll, on Parker's trail. The hitman first breaks into Claire's house to kidnap her and then gets to Parker. The girl packs her bags to go on vacation but hears a strange noise in the house. However, the perceptive girl manages to sneak out of the house through a window, and stabs the tire of the hitman's car, after which she escapes from the killer in the car. Claire tearfully calls her lover and tells him that a hitman has entered her house. Parker tells her to go to the fishing camp on the shores of Lake Okeechobee's Sawtooth Bay, in Florida, and wait there until Friday. In the meantime, Parker returns to Houston to get the new papers, but finds 3 of Danziger's subordinates lying on the floor, under the supervision of Norte and his assistant Ernesto. Parker shoots Ernesto in both legs, when asked to lie on the floor next to the uninvited guests. He realizes that Ernesto actually works for Danziger and betrays Norte. He then takes his papers, and forces Norte to shoot the 3 men sent by Danziger. Having no other choice, Norte shoots the 3 with his revolver and leaves his fingerprints. Later Parker meets Hurley, who informs him that Danziger has contacted him, and left him his share of the previous robbery to calm things down. Parker realizes that he is lying to him, because in reality, a Chicago mob boss would never offer money to someone who gets in the way of their plans. Parker refuses the money and is eager to stand up for his principles, and get revenge on the clowns. To do so, he travels to Florida as Daniel Parramatta, an escaped convict living in San Antonio, Texas, as if he were to buy a house. In this awkward home buying operation, he is aided by the already well-known Leslie Rogers, but before buying the property, the man decides to visit Claire. They meet as decided, and Parker proposes to break it off, so as not to endanger her life. On an exploratory trip with a real estate agent, Parker walks past lavish villas with indifference, but stops in front of a dingy house by local standards, purchased 2 months earlier for $1.2 million from Mr. Rodrigo. He realizes he has found the house where Mellender's gang plans to hide after the robbery. Leslie invites Parker to lunch to keep in touch, but he says he is very busy. One evening, Rogers, interested in the potential client's situation, inquires at the bank but gets no transaction, which leaves her puzzled. Later, the girl receives a message that her car has been repossessed and is angry, because in addition to this debt, she has a pile of loans from her cheating ex-husband. In the process, hitman Kroll pays Norte a visit and kills him, thinking he is working with Parker. At sunset, the protagonist returns to the home of the fake Mr. Rodrigo, where he finds their cache of weapons. He lays traps and studies their plan for the robbery. Returning to his car, he finds Leslie, who offers to continue the conversation in private. Parker behaves violently because he suspects she is working for someone. She tells him only that, according to her information and observations, he is not who he says he is. When they arrive at the empty office of the real estate agency where Leslie works overnight, she complains about her fate and asks to work for him for a share of the profits. Instead of answering, Parker tells her to strip down to her underwear to make sure she is not wearing a wire. After confirming, he promises to consider her offer. The next day, Parker contacts Rogers and offers to help him with the mission for a share of the money, and she accepts. Parker reveals the plan of Mellender's gang and the loot that awaits them if all goes well, which is $57 million. When Parker reveals that they want to rob the diamond auction, belonging to local socialite Miriam Hop Clinton, Leslie freaks out. She thinks it is too risky a mission and that they will be caught, but by now, she cannot back down. Mellender and the gang arrive at the back gate of Mrs. Clinton's vast estate, where the auction will take place. Mellender and his accomplices are dressed in blue jumpsuits, from a company specializing in technical assistance for public events. Later, Parker drops Leslie off to take a cab to her office, and heads to his hotel room, where he meets Kroll. A fierce fight breaks out, and Parker hits the killer in the head, who slams his head against the bathtub. Thinking he is dead, he exits the bathroom, but shortly afterwards, Kroll attacks him from behind. The assassin tries to stab him but is then thrown from the 26th floor balcony. Unfortunately, Parker is also seriously injured, but at least he is alive. When the protagonist goes to Leslie's house, the local policeman questions Leslie about her client, Parker. Suddenly the woman notices bloodstains on the floor and tries to send the policeman away. Later, Parker asks her to go to a pay phone to call Claire. He cannot risk going to a hospital, so Claire arrives to treat his wounds and tells him that she refuses to part with him. Meanwhile, Parker's enemies prepare for an upcoming robbery. Hardwick waits for the auction to begin, and remotely activates the sequential pyrotechnic systems Ross has placed in the speakers. Mellender and 2 accomplices dressed as firemen drive to the estate in a fire engine and take the jewels. The police put up all 3 drawbridges between Palm Beach town and the mainland. They also guard the marina and block the roads. Hardwick, aboard a speedboat, distracts the police, and Melander and his comrades in arms dive into the lagoon with their wetsuits and diving gear, and return home. There, Parker is waiting for them, hiding under tables with 2 guns. This is where Leslie comes in, whom Hardwick captures after finding her peeking through the window. Melander suspects Parker is nearby and sends his men to search the house. Parker silently kills Ross, after which Melander orders Hardwick to go after Parker. Meanwhile, Carlson stays with Leslie. Melander spots Parker and tries to shoot him in the back, but he misfires. The fight is followed by Parker's elimination of Melander, and simultaneously, Leslie shoots Carlson with the gun hidden under the table. Hardwick presents the gun to Leslie and threatens to kill her if Parker does not agree to split the loot. But when he pulls the trigger, it turns out that the gun is defective. Parker hits Hardwick directly in the forehead. Eventually, Parker breaks with Leslie, telling him to hide the jewels in an air conditioning duct, and promising to send someone to retrieve them within 3 months. 6 months later, Parker finds and kills Danziger. A year later, Leslie receives her share of $24 million, in 2 cardboard boxes by express mail. In the final scene, Parker rescues the farmer who saved him from death, and the old man begins to believe that Parker is not a man at all, but an angel. The end. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you'd like to see more videos like this. Turn on the notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out.